Sweet seduction in a magazine, endless pleasure in limousine. In the back shakes a tambourine, nicotine from a silver screen. Sweet seduction in a magazine, endless pleasure in limousine. In the back shakes a tambourine, nicotine from a silver screen. Sweet seduction in a magazine, endless pleasure in limousine. In the back shakes a tambourine, nicotine from a silver screen. Sweet seduction in a magazine, endless pleasure in limousine. In the back shakes a tambourine. From a silver screen, sweet seduction in a magazine, endless pleasure in limousine. In the back shakes a tambourine, nicotine from a silver screen, sweet seduction in a magazine, endless pleasure in limousine. In the back shakes a tambourine, nicotine from a silver screen.
What up, Bandidos? We are live. It's Friday, October 4th, and today we're gonna dig in through these dev files for Title Update 22 and try to pick out some goodies. You guys with me?
Dig the way out. I'm only in the attack dog. How late you wanna stay out? It's past the curfew when it's dark. I'm searching for you in the park. Shady murdered him, another person. He just hit his mark. He bet his quota for the month. They found the coda all rolled up inside a bag. He probably dragged the body for about a block.
Here we are. We are live. So let me see if I can go ahead and get my share my screen with you here. We want PTS notes. All right, here we go. All right, let's see if this works. Yeah, that works. You guys can see that okay? See if I can adjust this just a little bit for you. There we go. Hopefully that's not too small for you. So I'm in the PTS notes, which is in the known issues board. So this crazy place. But I'm looking for those exciting changes. There's a lot of changes coming and they're not going to be done. And apparently they got a couple of more months to work on this. So, you know, let's not get too excited. But, you know, I love highlighting the weapons that are going to make some impacts in the game. And the last two we talked about was the White Death, which is the M44. That's going to come back to be the strongest sniper in the game next to the Model 700, but that one doesn't count. So the M44 here, which is the White Death. So that's actually really exciting. I think it's where it belongs. Not super happy with some of the other changes they're making, but at least we got the White Death at a good spot. So there's that. And then we talked about the 1886, but they actually reverted the change. Some of it. They walked it back a little bit. So here at the top, the 1886 currently is at 342. And then they're buffing it to 386. So it's still getting a buff. It was over 400. I can't remember what the number is now. I do have a screenshot of it, but it doesn't matter. But it was over 400 before. And so they walked it back a little bit. But that's, you know, still a positive change. But like I was saying in my video, it's really about the ammo. Because you're either hitting at 10 million or you're hitting 20 million. There's nothing really in between. More damage is always better. We'll take it. But, you know, so that's fine. That's fine. I'm not disappointed by that because it was going to be crazy, right? I was just like, what? It's crazy. So, you know, whatever. But, yeah, the 8 rounds is worth it. And so that also means that the, as you can imagine, what's up, Mr. Texas? Chevy, thanks for your Prime over there too, bro. Appreciate you. So that also means, what is it called? The Diamondback will probably pick up that change too. So whatever they do to the base weapon, usually, not always, the exotic will pick up on that as well. I think the exotics are in here, right? Or did they put that in a separate tab? It's gear, St. Elmo's. Here's the exotics. So I imagine this. Weapon's gonna get a change. Where do we see? There it is. All right, the Diamondback 329. Yeah, so it's the same. They're making it look like it's getting a positive change, but it's already picked up that change from TU21. So I don't know why they're highlighting that as if it's the ammo I'm talking about. The mag was already increased, right? Are they decreasing it to increase it again? No, their data is not right. So it's fine. We know. But there's some other interesting things in here too, right? Like the capacitors picking up a little extra damage. That's always nice. You know which one caught my eye is, I'm not super disappointed because I don't use this weapon, but I was just like, oh, that sucks even more. The Bullet King. So yeah, it's getting a damage buff, but they're walking back the RPMs to 750. I rather have the RPMs than the damage on that thing. I want both because that weapon's not super fantastic. But yeah, so that's what I want to do. That's my project. If you guys got ideas on what you would like to see brought up, because I'll end up doing a video on this saying, hey, look out for this weapon next season. It looks like it's being increased. So the M1A is probably what we should start with though, because that one's picking up quite a buff, and I think we're gonna see a lot of rifle love next season with the full auto rifle thing. I think it's kind of gimmicky, but people are gonna enjoy it. It's more of a quality of life thing than anything, because rifles are about precision and not so much spray and pray. And so it's in my opinion that the full auto feature that they add to games for rifles is to help on your equipment, so you're not beating up your equipment so much, trying to reach that RPM. And so it's sort of a trend right now. We're seeing it in other games too. So it is what it is. There's still the same RPM, right? You just don't have to do it with your finger. So the RPM is the limiter there. It's the choke. But either way, that being said, rifles, I think, are still going to continue to be interesting. I want to touch on the M1A today. So I think that's where we'll start. And then I also want to touch on the breaking point, because there's a conversation that needs to be had about these gear sets. And it's kind of related to the whole, how do you say, rebalancing thing that they do. Because they go through all this effort. It's quite an effort to do this. I mean, there's a lot of weapons in the game. I don't even know how many we have, but there's a lot. And so they go through and rebalance all these weapons, and they hit certain hot spots, but they skip over so much in the game. It's crazy. And so that's kind of part of so we're getting this new gear set. And it's sort of like, well, Breaking Point is still kind of in a bad spot, and they released it, and they as experienced all the way through the PTS. Nothing really changed on it except for maybe something that was glitching. So it's got a poor level of adoption, right? I mean, how many people you see running around Breaking Point? How many builds do you see Breaking Point being pushed out there? Not very many. And so I don't even know if I have a full set of Breaking Point, but we'll see if we can put together a Breaking Point build, and let's talk about it a little bit, because it's like, hey, is the next gear set going to be the same thing? It's going to come out kind of mediocre, and then it's sort of, going to collect dust, and maybe we'll use parts and pieces of it. Maybe we won't. It just ends up being trash, and the concepts are close, right? Like if they just tweaked this and if they just tweaked that, but with this whole rebalancing thing, it's just like, God, there's some big ones in there, man. Like, what up, Pips? Thanks for that sub, man. Like another one is Hot Shot. Like Hot Shot's broken. Let me go ahead and minimize this real quick. Like Hot Shot's broken, right? And I love Hot Shot. I don't want it to be broken, but there's the whole glitch that happens when you throw certain skills, one of them being the decoy, and that's kind of important for snipers. It's like my main go-to. And so when I'm not using when I use Hot Shot, I have to basically not properly not use Hot Shot. or not use it. I'm telling you, like, I wouldn't make a big deal out of it if it was just like, oh, it sucks with riot foam, but that's not what we're talking about. The decoy is a game changer for snipers. I stand by that through and through. You know, it's just like, I rather run the decoy than hot shot. Like, that's how important the decoy is to my gameplay. It changes the NPC behavior. They just stop doing their fucking cartwheels. And I'd rather have that than hot shot, because hot shot's gonna punish me for missed shots. And so if I stick with hot shot and they're doing cartwheels, even with determined, I'm gonna be missing because of their fucking cartwheels and the scan system in the game, you know, and the hit register. So it's just like, I rather have the decoy out there to get these guys to stand tall and walk straight, and I'll knock them down like bowling pins. Yeah, right, Reaper. It's good, but it's just like, yeah, crappy execution. I think that's a good way to. Probably better, well said. And it's just like, they're so close on so many gear sets that it's like, oh, why can't this rebalancing initiative touch on these things? You know, so this is sort of, you know, this is dreaming, you know, they're up to their neck in what they're working on right now. So I don't expect them to pivot and start working on some of these, what we consider important changes, but, it's still a good conversation that needs to be had. I mean, and I've been thinking about it lately, actually, just kind of on a tangent here. Like, I've been asked this before, and I've been thinking about doing it lately. I've been asked to do a tier list on the gear sets, and I was kind of like, well, they're all situational. They have their all situational benefits, you know. So some of them can be side by side, like True Patriot and Ongoing Directive, and then maybe Negotiators. You can, so like the team ones, you can group up and say, okay, I can tier list the team ones, but it's not much of a tier list. We only got a couple of gear sets, and then there's all the soloist act gear sets, not the soloist, but the one that don't give team benefits, the opposite of that side of that coin. And so I've been thinking about it, but. You know, I'm thinking about, like, I mean, still haven't figured out how I would do it, but I was like, well, maybe it would deserve a tier list so that we can point out some of the outliers here. That's just like, this is just, nobody's using this, you know, how can we fix that? You know, something like that. Because I can't say, like, I wouldn't say Striker's better than I would say it's better than Heartbreaker, actually. I would say that. I would say that. Striker's better than Heartbreaker, even after any changes to Heartbreaker they could possibly make. Because Heartbreaker's limits you. And I love Heartbreaker. But you have to shoot in the head. You have to run a pulse. One or the other, you know. So it's just really limiting. But it's amazing how they gave us a really good backpack and chest option for Heartbreaker. It's a great gear set. That's its one little thing. And so I feel like that's the tier list I should be putting together. Maybe that's it, right? Like, it's awesome. It's S tier, but it's A tier, but it's D tier, but because all of them have that one thing, you know, and there's a few of them that are perfect. I mean, Striker is perfect. It really is. And that's coming for somebody that's not a big fan of Striker. I'm not a big fan of Striker. I have a lot of Striker builds, but I'd rather run something else. It's just what we have that's got enough DPS power for something like an assault rifle that gives us the space to be creative. It's the power that gives it the space because there's nothing else. It's got it's got a significant more amount of power than something else. Enough where I can put more armor cores and play more into bonus armor or put more weapon handling or whatever you want to do. And so that's why Striker works in my loadouts. It's because it's got enough power where I can tinker with it. But some of the other ones are really hard to do that with. Hunter's Fury might be one of the best gear sets ever. I guess if we were to rate it like on a scale of perfection, it's probably there. I mean, you can run it with assault rifles. You can technically run it with snipers, and I have. I mean, obviously the distance thing, you know, that's probably the one. But everything else you can run with pistols, rifles. It's all there, you know. And what's kind of interesting about Hunter's Fury is that it's sort of you know, just kind of thinking about these modifiers and how they're all based on range, and you get amplified damage changes dependent on that range. It's going to be interesting with Hunter's Fury, because Hunter's Fury is kind of built that way. It's got that in it. It's not a variable, but it's either there or not. And then you can stack on that. So that's going to be an interesting gear set coming this in this season, even for rifles. I think it's going to be more interesting than the gear set that they have for us. Let's take a look at that. Let me throw this back on the screen. So let's look at this new gear set. Virtuoso. Okay, so weapon handling, magazine size. I like that. The thing is that we're focusing on rifles at the moment. So the thing is that 15% isn't a huge impact to the rifle class because their mags aren't that big, but it's something. Weapon damage, of course, will take that. So these are all good stats. So the 2-3 piece, I'd run that. And then the symphony thing. So part of what I don't like about the symphony is you just look at it and it just hurts your eyes. You know, it's like, what's going on here? Like, what? Okay, so killing an enemy, blah, blah, blah. So let's skip over the shotguns, SMGs, and pistols. But further from 25 meters is 40% weapon damage. Damn. On pistols, which we can do. But the thing about it, okay, this is like, let me skip to the rifles before I make this comment. So killing an enemy within 25 meters will provide plus 40% weapon damage. Okay. Plus 40% weapon damage to MMRs and rifles inside 25 meters, and then plus 20% weapon damage to ARs and LMGs. Okay, but we're not going to worry about that. Let's just focus in on rifles right now because there's a lot of moving parts here. The part that's really confusing here is the intermittent thing, and it's basic in concept. I get it in concept, but intermittently killing enemies from both ranges will build up stacks. Like, how does that build up? At 4 stacks, all bonus. I mean, intermittently, what does that mean? You know what I mean? I mean, that tells me every other kill at a particular range. So if I got three enemies inside 25 meters, then I would kill guy, not get it. I would kill guy, get it, kill guy, not get it. And then to get the other stack, I would need a different range. So for rifles, it'd be outside of 25 meters from both ranges. Because he says from both ranges. So I don't know. So the language is kind of weird there. Maybe I'm reading into it too much. Maybe it just means I'm just going to get stacks intermittently. It might be that simple. Or it might be saying you have to kill somebody inside a range and then outside the range. Inside a range, you know. You have to swap back and forth. Yeah, okay. Thanks, Grumps. Yeah. And then at 4 stacks, all bonuses are multiplied by 1.5%. So another 50% damage. Well, it's a multiplier of whatever that changes. I mean, it's okay. This seems pretty constant, though, if you're playing aggressively. And that's what I like. Like, I can do that. 25 meters with my rifle, I can do that. You know what I mean? And maintain it in the content that I play and the way I play. So I see that as a win. I just don't know if I like the 40% weapon damage. Because, okay, so hear me out. This is where I was going to go, and I held my tongue for a second, but now I'm going to release it. So 40% weapon damage. What do I get? What do I get here, right? You probably see where I'm going. So I get 40% weapon damage. That's pretty decent weapon damage, and I get that up to 25 meters on my rifle. That's amazing. That's good damage, man. Okay. And that's easy. It's up to 25 meters. Easy peasy. And then weapon handling, and then I get some mag size, and then some weapon damage, right? Okay. Cool. Well, great. Well, what do I get with this one? You know what I mean? So I don't get shotgun damage or SMG damage. Okay. But I get 20% armor on kill. What would you rather have? You see where I'm going? Well, shit. Because if I run this gear set, Virtuoso, well, where's my survivability? Well, I'm going to have to add that in addition to it, right? Where this gear set comes with it built in, and there's more to that survivability. But just for standing there, I look at Big difference right here. And this isn't new, but you're going to get this 20% amplified damage from Apex Predator without even taking a shot, just by standing there. You got it. It's equipped. Where if we run Virtuoso, you don't get that damage until you get a kill. Killing an enemy will provide 40% damage for 15 seconds. And there's a timer on it. You know, I mean, this is more generous in its range. Pros and cons, but you have to kill somebody. So it's, you know, we know how that works, right? I mean, at least it's for 15 seconds. It's better than 10 seconds. There's that. But we know that, you know, it's about uptime. And so one's 20% amp damage with full-time uptime. And the other one is 40% weapon damage for 15 seconds after you get the kill. So while you're wailing on that enemy, you don't have it, right? So your first kill is your hardest kill. And with Hunter's Fury, your first kill is the easiest, is easier. And they get easier from there because you start getting amplified damage that stacks from Apex Predator, in theory. You know, so I'm not saying this is bad, but I'm saying, you know, you have to make life choices here. And, you know, that 20% amp or armor on kill is hard to sleep on. Did you say this one gets bonus armor? I don't know if I caught that. Where'd you say, where's that on? Am I missing that? Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah. It's not on this one though, huh? It's on just on this one. Gotcha. I see it. First half. Yeah. So it's only for shot, which is the set that needs it most, right? On pistols, that is nice. I agree. That is nice. 40% weapon damage for pistols. And then you get, I'm guessing you get 25% bonus armor also for 15 seconds. That is pretty nice. That's a lot of bonus armor. I wonder if it stacks though. I mean, if it doesn't, you could still run the memento. Yeah, so, you know, it's interesting, right? It's got all the right elements. Okay, let's go find our M1A. There you are. Oh, this is going to have some interesting mods coming for it, too, in the future. So this picks up to 30% stability, by the way. And then this little guy jumps from 5% to 12% weapon handling. That's going to help your reload. I don't think this has taken any changes. Okay, what do I want to run this with? I mean, we could do that. I don't know if I like the idea of rifles with, I mean, negotiators getting a buff. I mean, we could run like that. Oh, running rifles with crits. I guess that's what people do. That's how excited I'm about it. Well, that's what people do. Because I like running on with head stuff, and so I'll tweak it to get it to work. Let's see, do I have gloves here to match? Negotiators? No, but I can run. Well, I'd want to run the foxes, I figure. See, I kind of don't, you know, the part about the crits thing is that you, they make it hard to get any significant values there. And we would have to maximize our crit chance to get this to work with negotiators. But rifles with negotiators are pretty darn nice. Because you're kind of getting more mileage out of your mag. They don't, you know, you don't have much of one. Let's see, do I have my backpack here? Yeah. God, I don't know if I've run this in a long time. Negotiators with a rifle. Negotiators, yes, I like negotiators. Gonna have to clean up my gear here pretty soon. All right. Let's see if we can get that on here. And then for chest, I mean, we're probably gonna have to run Cheska. Let's see where our stats are. Yeah, we're pretty low. We're gonna have to run crit chance everywhere. It kind of sucks about the rifle. Would we run focus with this? Probably, huh? Let's see where we're at now. 47. I think I can get that to work. All right, so that puts us at the scope. And then stupid skin thing. Oh, there you are over there. Hard to find. All right. All right, that should be really close. 54. Yeah, and I think we're... I mean, I could probably change one of these stats. Yeah. Which one? We'll do that one. Yeah, there's a way to report cheaters. I think it's on the Ubisoft side, isn't it? Yeah, they prefer you don't do it by chat on Twitter or anything. What up, Mr. Harris? Parabellum. Brass. All right, so I think that's good. I mean, I can just keep that armor core there. What's nice about these rifles is you can run a fancy little scope and shield. And then I'm going to run my decoy, which we have. And then shield-wise here, we should probably change this. Talent. What do I want to run here? Optimus is getting a buff next season, right? I think they're giving a 0.5% increase. That wouldn't be bad. Ranger for playing into range. Which we're not. People like flatline, but I don't want to go through that trouble. Rifleman. Probably not. A lot of people like boomerang. I kind of don't, but we are running crits. And that is more damage. That wouldn't be bad for this. Since we're going on crits. I don't usually run crits, so I usually overlook that one. All right, let's do that. And then I think we have it all. Specialization, let's switch that. And let's go and run gunner because we're gonna need some sort of armor on kill. All right, let's see if I can find the negotiator's buff here. My patch notes. Oh, let's look at the M1A first. All right, so our M1A is gonna pick up some increased base damage and a little bit faster reload. But we're after that base damage. Okay, so there's that. And then let's find our gear changes and take a look at that backpack. There's also aces and eights. That's going to be exciting. I'm excited to use that. So it's exotics. Gear sets. It should be here. It was. Where they mentioned the change to the backpack. Are they not going to change the backpack anymore? So there's strikers, there's aces, there's heartbreaker. But we were supposed to get an increase. It was like 12% to the negotiator's backpack. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's there. Okay, I hear you. So if they didn't put it, then it's just there. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't like that system. I don't like that system. Say keep it, just, you know. I get what you're saying though. For that reason, though, I don't like it. It's like I gotta remember all of last patch notes and then this patch notes, then these patch notes. Oh, look at that! These backpack mods are. Gear set mods are in this zone again. Wow. Pistols isn't a bad farm either with the new Magnum coming out. What else we got? Hunter's Fury. Oh, thanks. Yeah, appreciate that. Let me turn that off. I forget to minimize that. Thank you.
Will you remember me?
All right, let's get warmed up, shall we? Probably should just took lucky shot. Get out of here with that phone. We want none of that. Oh, that reload. Nasty. That's why I don't like crit builds. Rifles. On rifles. One shot these bad boys. Too much ammo. I think I'll probably end up liking aces better with rifles. I think that'll probably be the way I play it. M1A has never really had a fantastic reload, huh? Yeah, what do you think about that? I've seen this comment a few times about rebalancing is just a way for devs to make it feel like they're putting out new content, but they're obviously not. Right? They're obviously not. But kind of like it's like an old trick of the book in the dev book to be like, oh, we can't put out new content this season, so, or we don't have much new content this season. Let's rebalance all the weapons and, you know, get them excited about that. It'll feel like new content, and it does. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it is a shiny distraction, isn't it? I've been fooled in the past and distracted by changes. Project Resolve, hello. I'm kind of, you know, put on your tinfoil hat, but I'm kind of curious what the whole point of Project Resolve was. Anyways, because, you know, they walked back all those changes. Most of them are walked back. And so I wonder if Project Resolve was just a stopgap because they weren't ready to release Seasons 2.0 or the DLC. They were behind schedule, which is fine. It happens. But so they were like, shit, well, let's call it Project Resolve and let's rebalance all the weapons. And for the community, it'll feel like new content, or to distract them. We'll be distracted with that, right? And we'll call it a health update, and it's really important in Future Foundation. But then they walked it all back. But this is the part that's confusing for me. This is the part that's confusing. Well, is that Project Resolve, the reason why they needed to set things in motion was for Seasons 2.0. And so we're not having seasonal characters now. And so maybe that's why they walked it back. I find that hard to believe, though. It's like, well, seasonal characters were going to be so different when they would be different. They'd be completely weak, a lot weaker. But it's not like those changes from Project Resolve were crazy. Like, oh man, we better walk those back. They're going to be too powerful now. I mean, no way, right? I mean, was there anything in there that was like, oh my God, Project Resolve is, well, we are so overpowered now. Game is trivialized. You know, I didn't think so. I don't see why they walked it all back. So, I think, Grumpy, this was one of your comments, I think, but it was like, where I think you said, like, so were they wrong about those changes that they made in Project Resolve, and so they're fixing their errors? And if so, why would we trust these changes that they're making, and that they're not just going to have to walk these back a month or two later, or 3 months later? It's only been a few months. Oh, it's like the eagle looks sick. And so the reason why I can be so easily fooled about that is because I'm really into builds. And so, you know, who isn't, right? Well, some people aren't. And so those people aren't fooled. They're like, we don't want rebalancing. We want new missions, you know? And so some people aren't fooled by this coming package in Seasons 2.0 because they want new fights. Not the same fight, just harder, and maybe you're more powerful, and so are they. But they want new fights at different places and maybe different factions. And, you know, you got to understand that, right? You got to understand. I understand that. In a 7-year-old game, I don't really need that. You know? I would love it, but I don't need it. Oh my God, I would love it. But, you know, at this stage, I kind of feel like what I need is a repackage, right? I need the Division 3 to come out, and I need you to just keep the game healthy and the community, how do you say, content between now and then, you know? I think that's a good way to move forward. And I've been saying this for a couple of months now, but just give us what they already know, and what we already know, what we signed up for, you know, and, you know, kind of like, you know, get more gear, more legendary missions. I mean, more DLCs. Why not? So what I'm trying to say is, like, they don't have to come up with, like, the Descent game mode. I don't know why they felt like they had to do that, you know? And I mean, and my guess is because I think that, you know, a lot of the community was saying, give me survival from Division 1. And that was kind of they're not going to reproduce the same thing, right? That would cannibalize Division 1. And so they came up with kind of something similar, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't call it similar, but you know what I mean? Like, it's a spin on the concept to a degree, I guess. I don't know. But I know it's kind of lame, my opinion about, like, hey, just just string us along and give us what we want and what we know give us what we know we love, right? Give us good quality gear, give us a glitchless game, and keep the game healthy, and give us the DLC and new skills and new weapons. I mean, how much would it be a game changer if we just got a new skill? I mean, holy shit, I would be one happy camper, especially since the last skills that they gave us were kind of duds, I mean, the Achilles pulse, well, some people in raids and, speedrunners like that. So, okay. So at least it's got some use case, but the healing traps, I'm not sure. I think that was dead on arrival, wasn't it? That was a really bad implementation. And what a waste of a skill. Sad, But if they brought us skills, I mean, I feel like that's a small change, and that would keep me happy for another 3 months until the new skill comes out, And we used to have that kind of release. It was pretty basic. It was the division system, and it kind of worked, Yeah, we always found something to bicker and complain about, but that's gamer mentality. You know what I mean? That's what we do as gamers. We strive for perfection, and complain when we get it. No, there's no, you're always gonna get complaints because not everybody agrees on what we need or want. Yeah, the EMP sticky was legit, right? I don't feel very confident, Nuclear. I mean, I don't want to be I'm not pessimistic about it, but I don't feel my heart tells me that the Division will survive because it's one of the few titles that they actually own completely. The games that might not survive are games like Avatar. It's really interesting how it's all going to play out. And I'm talking about, I don't know if you're talking about this, Nuclear, but as it relates to the Ubisoft, basically what's going to end up being a restructuring, right? So new ownership. So, I mean, there's talks that Eve's family, who's the CEO, and Tencent, which is the Chinese megacorp, are talking about buying out Ubisoft and taking control. Which is kind of interesting to me about that is there's been talks months ago that there was a conspiracy between those two to purposely lower the value of Ubisoft so that they could buy it basically for a steal. And here we are. You know what I mean? That was months ago, before the stock dropped, before Star Wars released. And it ended up coming true. Here we are. They're talking about buying it out. I don't know if they will, but found that interesting. That aside, I think Division will survive because I think it's the roots of their core roster of games. I think they're going to patch up Assassin's Creed. They're going to patch it up. They're going to fix it. That's what's going to happen. They're going to walk back these mistakes. Division needs to be on the forefront again. So does Assassin's Creed and Rainbow Six. Those games are really important to them. And so I think Division will try to survive. Now here's from the insider, Tom Henderson. I'm planning on doing a video on this because it's kind of interesting. Not negative talk, but more just to help manage the community's expectations. Because this is what happened. I mean, I get irritated. I'm a gamer just like you. I look forward to good news, and I want I don't want to be hyped up just to be let down, But, you know, it's just like to talk about the Division 3 because they post a job listing on Twitter. You know, to talk about it as if the game is going to launch anytime soon, I think would be a mistake. This Tom Henderson was asked that question directly, and, you know, I don't know if you know who he is, but he owns a publication, and he's basically a gaming insider, and so he's got sources inside these megacorps that feed him information. I don't know how he gets it, but damn. He's the one that exposes a lot of this shit that ends up being regurgitated around social media. He's the guy that gets that information. So he's been unraveling this Ubisoft stuff. Anyway, somebody asked him about Division 3 and what he thought, and he said 3 years. And I don't think this guy just vomits shit out of his mouth. I mean, if you look at his channel, he's a pretty credible source. It is an opinion, though. It's an opinion. His opinion was 3 years, you know, so he wasn't expressing it as a fact, you know. But with somebody whose ear is that close to the Ubisoft tiles, I think that, that's a pretty goddamn good guess. I mean, that's a good marker for me. You know what I mean? I'll take it. Because Ubisoft isn't saying shit about shit, right? When's the last time they gave us a date on Division 3? Never. And they never will. Not until it's like the day before release. That's just how they work. They've always worked that way. And so, yeah, just like what Grumpy's saying, like, I would be surprised. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It's really weird. I'm not being pessimistic, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Division 3 got canceled. You know, basically backburnered indefinitely. What happened to the Division Mobile, guys? Was it silently canceled? I mean, when's the last time you heard about I mean, remember all the hype and all the play testing, the game testing, the testing? I mean, those were technical tests, pre-release. We had multiple beta tests. It was supposed to launch over the summer. What happened? What happened? I mean, resurgence, yeah. I mean, so honestly, I'm just asking you guys a question. What happened? Somebody give me an answer. How did it get so quiet on that front? I think the game's canceled. Backburnered indefinitely. Why? Right? Because they need all hands on deck with these other games that are tanking. I think that's why. I think it's just like, shit. I mean, X Defiant is their golden child, looter shooter in the, first person shooter in the free to play genre. And that game might be canceled as early as November. I mean, I can see the desperation in that game in their tweets. Like, I've watched all these games' tweets, right? So, I mean, I can see the desperation. Come play 2XP weekend. Oh, my God. Blah, blah, blah. And they got some good content, right now. And the game's good. But from the people that are really into that game, and I really enjoyed that game, they just say the content schedule was just too slow to maintain what they needed, And then Star Wars only selling 1 million? Like, damn, right? So, with those two hurting so bad, they're probably like, yeah, I mean, Resurgence, yeah, we're gonna have to put that fucker on hold because we need those resources over here. These are more important games. These are our cash cows. I mean, I don't even know what Resurgence was. What it was Resurgence for you guys? It wasn't shit to me. I was like, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure everybody felt the same way. Yeah, I'll play it, as a kind of like a nostalgia thing, but I'm not excited to spend my money on microtransactions in this little mobile Division game. I mean, who wants to fucking do that? I love the Division. And that is not where I'm going to spend my Division dollars. You know what I mean? Not in that mobile game. I mean, who wants to do that? It was a bad idea, I think. I don't think looter shooters, the lovers of looter shooters, fans of the Division are really looking for a mobile game, a mobile Division. I don't really think we're looking for that, but it does open up other markets. I get that. And so that might have been its true purpose, is to expand the Division, because there's some markets that they game more on their phones than consoles, affordability reasons, technology reasons. So I could see, it was probably that more than anything. But, and now Assassin's Creed is fucking tanking, man. I mean, they delayed Assassin's Creed. Holy hell. Right? So, I mean, that's what I figured. I was like, yeah, if that's happening, there's no way Resurgence is going to be prioritized. To be honest with you, I'd be surprised if the Division 3 is really underway right now, fully. I mean, I think they're acting as if everything is, you know, hunkadory as usual. But the reality is that it's not. And do you think Julian is really all in on Division 3 right now? I mean, I think he has one foot in that door, but the game he's been working on for years is failed. And so I imagine when it comes to conversations about how do we fix this, they'd probably want his input. You know? I mean, maybe it's his fault, but he's got to be part of that conversation. It'd be kind of a business. I mean, I can't imagine a business leaving a key player out like that. That's a major stakeholder. So, it's possible, but yeah. So is he just showing up to a meeting, or is he still involved on the dailies? I don't know. But I just find it hard to believe that a game that they've licensed and spent millions on in years in development, and we're hoping that it was going to be their main source of revenue going into 25, it's tanking. I have a hard time them saying, okay, it is what it is. All right, time for Division 3. Let's go ahead and put our assets there now. I mean, I don't think they're going to do that. And so that's why that being said, yeah, Division 3 years out, that sounds realistic to me based on what's going on right now. And I don't think that's a bad timeline. I think that sounds like a Division. I mean, that sounds like a Ubisoft development timeline to me, you know? I think it could be a cool thing. I mean, I think of it. I mean, I want Division 3 like yesterday, right? I do. But you think that's why nuclear? Oh, I don't know about that, man. I think that Ghost of Tsushima, I think it puts the game more vulnerable to Ghost now. I think Ghost is going to launch before it now, right? Or around the same time, where Ubisoft needed to go out before to get market share. And I think it's threatened even more by that game. It already was threatened. I mean, I hear you. I mean, you got a valid point. It's part of the equation, for sure. I think they put themselves in deeper water, though. Yeah, it's all about they're struggling with the Asian markets. To the point that they don't think they're going to get good sales. I mean, it's all the buzz. That's all anybody talks about. You bring up the Assassin's Creed game, people talk about, oh, yeah, the Japanese are pretty upset. You know, it's like, yeah, it's just not good press, you know? It affects you, even if you're not Japanese, you know? But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a factor. But I think that game is gonna. I'm not sure that there's room for both Assassin's Creed, feudal Japan, and Ghost. I don't think there's enough market space for it now. Ghost is gonna kill that game, and it's gonna be a laughingstock. But yeah, so now they're thinking about it. Shit, how do we come out stronger, right? I mean, there's talks of them rewriting, removing the character. Fuck, how are they gonna do that in 3 months? I mean, in my mind, they got to move. They created a 2-character game, you know? And so the question is, how do we emphasize the female character more? And then make this guy, I don't know what they do with him, but you know. Yeah. What up, Acolyte? Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm hoping for the best. I want all these games to succeed. I want games to succeed, you know? There's this weird thing going around in the gaming world where people are like almost rooting for games to fail. It's kind of weird. Like, just because you're not going to play it or it's not your thing doesn't mean it should fail, right? Like, it's weird. Like, why do you want it to fail? Like, other people love it. You know what I mean? The game is trash. Well, if you don't like it, maybe somebody else does. It's because you don't like, you know, just because it's not your thing doesn't make it trash. It's just hard words on the game. If it is trash, yeah, call it trash. I'm not saying don't, but. Like, I like games that some people don't like, you know? I do. I mean, the First Descendant's not for everybody. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I'm really enjoying that game right now. Like, I'm really genuinely liking it. Like, I unlocked my Esimo, and I've been working on him. He's like this, he's basically an explosives dude. He is so much fun to play with. They just revamped him because he wasn't getting much of the limelight from the player base, and so they made him better. And he's so much fun to use, you know? Just he hucks landmines and all sorts of shit, you know? So, but that game's not for everybody, you know? I really enjoy it. And Starfield, like, I loved Starfield. Not everybody likes Starfield. Bethesda, I don't know, you know? You know, I have my feelings about Bethesda. But, yeah, you know, a lot of games out there for different types of people. Freyna's rework is ridiculous. Oh my god, I'm excited. I haven't invested in her though because, you know, the ultimate is coming, so I'm just waiting for that. But I have been using her. You know, with my no investment build. We're gonna get killed here. I can't see shit. Oof, that was fucking close. Why did that status effect feel so long? That felt long, man. But yeah, so there's some good games out there, man. Like, I wish I had more time. I wish I had more time. That reminds me, I'm gonna stream Starfield tomorrow night. I finally got it to work. Yeah, leave it to these dudes. Yeah, there's been a percentage of people that couldn't get it to trigger, so they've integrated it just into the game. You have to kind of like trigger it. You know, so you have to download the patch, of course, the expansion patch, but I couldn't get it to trigger. And I finally figured out how. I basically had to revert to a save to that I had right before I downloaded the patch, and then that triggered it. So I didn't lose any data or anything like that because I hadn't been playing for a long time, so it was okay. But it was mostly like, man, I really want to play this damn game. What the F? And it won't let me play. So I finally got it to work. So we're gonna check that bad boy out tomorrow. And anyways, I really enjoyed that game. I thought it was really cool. So, I was saying this. So let's go back to that Division 3 thing about, because I was saying, like, I kind of like that, you know, I was saying I want Division 3 too, but I'm kind of glad that it's going to take 3 years. I don't think, and you know me, I'm not happy with these developers, you know. It's not so much their decisions, it's the developers. I just think they don't do a great job of managing. I mean, you see them, right? No, nothing against them personally, but I just don't think they're great community managers, you know? He's a developer. Yannick's a developer. You can see he's kind of introverted. And the community manager is kind of introverted too. She doesn't seem like she's a camera kind of person, which is kind of weird for a community manager. It's kind of weird. They should be kind of PR-like, marketing people, you know? Should be all about it, you know? And a marketing person should know, like, there's certain things you don't say on camera, like, she says some things that are mistakes, like, ooh, I wouldn't have said that. You know, you're better off just not saying anything. You know, it's cool though. I mean, I like their quirkiness. I giggled. You know, I was on mute when I was doing that, but they had me giggling a couple of times because they said some funny shit. You know, their little jokes between them side because they're kind of awkward, and it was kind of funny a couple of times. I honest to God, genuinely laughed a couple of times because they were just kind of funny. You know. But yeah, they're not good on camera, you know? And so, you know, just take that, extrapolate it a little bit, pull it out of that stream and be like, these are the people who are managing the community. You know, how sensitive do you think they are to our needs? Like, legit question. Do they seem like they're genuinely sensitive to our needs? Desires, wishes, and dreams? Like, does it seem like they have the players in heart and mind? No, I don't think so. You know, I think Yannick is pretty technical about it. You know, I mean, and I'm not saying anything bad about him. I like the guy for what I know about him. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, I just don't think it's a game. It's a job, and you know, he's kind of I think, this technically driven, introverted kind of guy, you know? I just don't think he's got the community, not because he doesn't like us or anything like that. I just think that's just the way he is. And my point is, like, these aren't the people I would necessarily be assigning to managing or I mean, in a lot of in a software company, they're usually called product managers, you know? And the product manager's job is to be the voice of the customer. And so they build up profiles. Like, what does our customer look like? How old is he? What does he do for a living? How much money does he make? How many hours does he play in this game? You know, what's his favorite gun? They know everything about you. And you're like, oh my God. She's reading my mind. He's reading my mind. She knows everything about me. You know what I mean? That's a product manager. They know you personally. You know, they know whether you file taxes or not. Crazy shit. That's their job, is to know you. And their job is to also stand up for you because nobody else, that's their job. You're not there, right? Somebody's got to speak for the customer. That's a product manager's job. So they'll say, nope, that's not right. We shouldn't do that. This is what the customer wants. This is what he does for a living. This is how much money he's got to spend, and this is how much game time he's got. And he's not going to want to do that because he doesn't have that. He can't afford that kind of gaming time. You know, whatever the situation is. You know what I mean? So there's that voice, and it's just like from what it looks like, the people that are playing that voice are like Yannick and Daria. I don't know. Maybe there is a product manager back there that's being the voice of the consumer, but I'm just gonna assume at this moment it's not. There's not, and it's these two. What do I got to go by, right? But it's just like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's, I think why things are a little bit awkward sometimes is because that's our voice right there, you know. And so what I'm saying is that, you know, with the division deserves a couple more years. It deserves it, you know. It doesn't deserve to be abandoned and moved on, and the community to move on to Division 3. It deserves a solid chance at, I guess, a second life, you know, because we just had a series of unfortunate events. You know, we got hit with the COVID thing right in the middle of development, and that just slammed this game hardcore. On one hand, our playtime hours were probably higher than ever because everybody was locked in, right? But on the other hand, the developers were too, and so the development schedule just got funky monkey. Tito! So, yeah, I don't know. You know, so I mean, so I guess what I'm saying, like, for personally, like, I just think that I want Division 3. I'm going to keep saying that because I don't want you to think I don't want it. But, like, I want Division 2 to go full steam, you know? And so that's kind of where my passion comes from. That's where my, you know, like I got a comment earlier today where somebody was saying like, oh, this seems like you're like always hating on the devs. I'm like, am I always hating on the devs? Or, you know, I'm always talking bad about the devs, or are they always giving me something bad to talk about? I'm not sure. Chicken or the egg, but I was like, it's tough love because I love this game. I was like, I'm just not going to pretend, you know, that things are hunky-dory. That bothers me. It's just like, is that what you want out of me? To pretend it's all, I mean, I was like, somebody's got to say something for us, right? I mean, I realize I'm not representing everybody's voice, but I hope I'm not too far off the mark, right? Like, I mean, I'm sorry, those patch notes, that PTS interview thing that we just did, the live stream, I mean, they barely mentioned the delay, guys. They barely mentioned it. That, nothing irritates me more than thinking I'm fucking stupid. You know what I mean? And I don't feel attacked personally or anything like that, but I'm just saying nothing irritates me more than just skirting over a major fucking topic like that. You know? Oh, it's not officially a delay because we never announced the launch date, and be like, whoa, there's a precedence here, people, right? For years, what did they said it themselves? We've had 11 seasons or some shit like that. All right, and the seasons always are relatively close to back to back. Like they used to announce when it would be a 2-week delay, and we were all like, oh. Remember that? When it was a 2-week delay and we were all like, oh man, 2 fucking weeks? Oh, how could they? We'd have these talks and people would be disappointed. This is months, guys. I mean, this what do you call it? Throwback event is 3 weeks. You could say, oh, Tux, it's not months, it's 3 weeks. The throwback event is only 3 weeks. They said themselves, you cannot go by the calendar. You right? So I'm going by their words. These aren't mine. Their words are saying, don't trust, you know, don't go by the seasonal event calendar thing. Those are fake dates. You know, basically, go by what we say, right? So I am speculating because they didn't tell us. They did not give us a launch date. Notice that, and it just irritates me that we're okay with that. This isn't a cause or effect conversation. Oh yeah, but you didn't want the seasonal characters. So what are you complaining about? What am I complaining about? Is not the delay. Okay, I'm complaining about the fact they're not planning on telling us there's a delay. That's the part that I'm irritated about, right? Well, they just told you. Did they though? I mean, fuck, man, they barely mentioned it. And then they spun it. They didn't even say it. They didn't say it's a delay. It's not a delay. I mean, they just said, hey, they spun it. It's not really a delay. And we did it. It's not a delay because we wanted to integrate this throwback event. And we're like, oh my God. And so that's what had me think about Project Resolve. I was like, I don't think Project Resolve was real. I think that was a spin because they weren't ready. I'm now realizing that. You know what I mean? So Project Resolve didn't exist because they needed to get the game in good shape so that they could release Seasons 2.0. Project Resolve existed because they weren't ready to release Seasons 2.0. So if they just rebalanced the weapons, that age-old trick of the book, in the dev book, to, hey, if you just rebalance gear, the community will be fooled into feeling like they're getting new content, but they're not. God damn, that's a good fucking point. I was fooled. But either way, that's what irritates me, you know what I mean? So I just feel like I just can't, I'm not, gonna not say anything for my sake and the community's sake, It's just like, hey, whoa, the devs didn't, I'm sorry this is coming off negative, but how can this be ignored? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like we're kind of like whipped dogs, I think we just, we'll take the scraps off the table and we don't feel like we deserve more or better. But I think we should hold ourselves and the devs to a higher standard. Time is money, And so you've maybe paid $60 to $80 for this game and you feel like you've gotten your money's worth out of it. That's fine, but time is money, man. My time is precious. Like, you hear me say, like, I wish I had more time. I'd be playing these other games. What up, Matt? It's your fault for trusting this in the first place. Yeah, basically. Good. So it's just, so my point is, like, I would love, like, I want the Division 2 to just, like, just get a Steam, get Steam back in its engine and just roll consistently forward. You know what I mean? Like we used to. There was a period, like, even during the hard times where we were getting a season every season and we were getting new gear. We were getting cool exotics. There were new exotics. We were getting skills. We were getting new manhunt. I mean, personally, it's not a very popular opinion I'm about to say, but I would go back to the old manhunts. Give me a boss to kill at the end with a story that ties into the main one, like. And then when I kill him, there's a skill that drops. I would love that, I really would. And I could do that for a couple of more years. But I would really like some more missions too. I'm with you. I am with you there. Like, yeah, I get tired of running District Union Arena all the time also. But priorities. Gear space would be nice. I agree. I wouldn't put out a video saying, great news, we're getting more gear space. I wouldn't do that. Hint, hint. Man, those status effects are hitting hard. So, what are you guys' thoughts about the modifiers? You feeling a little bit better about them with the PTS? No, I'm not playing a PTS. I can't. I'm an Xbox player. It's only PC player for PC. Oh, that's good. Killer. I'm glad he voiced his opinion. Yeah, I'm a little worried. I mean, about them. Because I don't want to turn them off. I see that as me not getting the full game experience if I turned off the modifiers. So I get that they're optional, but if I turned them off, I'd feel like I'm missing out, you know? So if modifiers come out, which they are, then I would want to enjoy them. And like I said, I am excited for seasons 2. A lot of it is out of desperation because I am hungry for something new. You know, we haven't gotten anything new in a long time, so I'll take what I can get. You know, it's a low bar. But yeah, the negative modifiers, I am worried about them. You know, I think people are going to feel the power because I think we're going to feel powerful with some of these modifiers, but they're all situational. And then it's going to be frustrating when you get hit with some of these negative ones. And then after a while, that might get really old, you know? But there's a lot of people that are saying, that aside, it's interesting because there's different communities that I'm going through in my head right now, right? So then there's another community within our community, right? That believes like, what, this game is so easy. What, you want it to get easier? It's already easy. It's trivialized. Striker makes it too easy. Think about this, right? Striker needs a nerf because it makes the game too easy. You know, we got this power creep situation apparently. So I laugh at that because I'm like, what are you talking about? Right? Like, they're so strong. We are not disproportionately powered here in the wrong way. We are like so underwhelming to them. But that being said, then you have these people possibly saying, and these are some of the comments that I've seen, oh, you guys, these modifiers, you're gonna feel powerful, Tux. Don't worry, you're gonna feel really powerful. Oh, they're so strong. You know, and it's just like, well, that might not be good for that community, right? That's saying this game, what you know, Strikers trivializes the game. You were so powerful with Striker, but you know, well, now we're gonna get this crazy amp damage that's gonna turn it up because now you can run Strikers that was quote unquote barely nerfed. And I get it's just a backpack, but I'm just saying. And now you can have these modifiers on top of that. So, I mean, how is their logic not applying to that situation? You know, these people that are saying, oh, Striker needs to be nerfed because we're going to be too strong. Well, why aren't these people worried about the modifiers? Maybe they don't know about them enough. That's possible. I mean, I don't want the game to be, like, too easy or anything. I don't. But easier wouldn't be bad, I don't think, either. I mean, more importantly, fun. That's the word we're looking for, right? And it means something different to everybody, right? But usually bullet sponge is not synonymous with fun. I gotta say, I mean, that, I think we could all agree on that, right? It's been brought up. Bullet sponge gets brought up in a lot of games. Like Starfield was one of them. I remember people were like, "Oh, you know, typical Bethesda, they're bullet spongy," you know. And it's never been regarded as a good thing. And so if they're bullet sponges, that's kind of a sign that they got more HP. They got a proportionally high HP than we do DPS. There's a disparity there. Could we, right? So let's just like, how are we too strong? I don't understand how we're too strong if they're so bullet spongy. And there's more of them than us. And they got crazy healing capabilities. But okay, all of that aside, going back to the modifiers, like my biggest concern is about the modifiers, to be honest with you, are like, are deeper. They're deeper to the point like, I've brought it up with you guys, but I don't even want to have a conversation about it. It might be too much to talk about right now, you know. I mean, I'm comfortable talking about to you guys about it. I mean, like for a video or something like that, to like bring it to the entire community's attention, because I think it's to be like, oh my God, I don't even want to think about that right now. We're just trying to get by, you know, the weapon nerfs at the moment. Let's just stay on that subject, right? But like the topic my biggest worry is about what it's going to do to builds. You know, trivializing the game or trivializing the builds. And that's my biggest worry. I like, how do you say, like watering them down, the builds down. So we do this all the time. We talk about this a lot in different ways, right? Like Striker's so strong, who gives a fuck if what 4-piece Striker pieces you're running? We say that all the time. I say that all the time, right? Like, and so that's an I'm bringing that up because that's an example of where a build could be trivialized, where it just doesn't matter. You want every piece of your gear to matter, in my opinion. If possible. Not always possible. The big show. And I worry that, so I think it was somebody's comment, and I won't say who, but you'll probably know, is they said, hey, the modifiers are good now. I just tested the PTS, me paraphrasing, and you're never going to turn off the modifiers. They're that good, right? I mean, that's good news for the modifiers. And you can be so OP, you know, it's going to be crazy. You can feel powerful. But that kind of makes me think of like, so can I run I mean, you know where we go, right? Here's another example. Like when we run reanimated, I'm like, it doesn't give, who gives a, run whatever. The last thing you should be doing is running an all red build, right? Like you are so powerful, put on whatever the fuck you want. You're going to be going around chain killing people with headshots. That's how powerful you are in this event. Like you can run whatever, you know? And it's true, right? You're so powerful in that event. It's kind of the point. But what ends up happening is you start to realize I can't make my build weaker. It's as weak as my build can get, and I'm going around headshot killing everybody with one shot and chain killing. Now, I don't think we're going to be that strong. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, like, it can water down your build, and then your builds kind of get boring, and then the event kind of gets boring. Because I'm enjoying the event because of my build. I love the event, but it's more fun with my build. Does that make sense? It's like, it kind of goes with that whole saying, like, I came for the action, but I stay for the builds. You know how I say that? And so that's sort of the same thing with these events. So, like, with Reanimated, I come for the action and the fun, and it's finally fun. The game gets really fun, but I'm here, but I stay because I start tinkering with the build. Now let's create this build. Now let's create that build. Now let's run a shotgun. Now let's run a pistol, you know? And so I feel like, I mean, it might be intentional, and I get that. And so I'm thinking about it, you know, because they might be doing it on purpose because, you know, they're trying to make the game more casual friendly. And so this would be a way to do it, making the builds not matter so much, because builds in the Division 2 aren't that casual. Let's just admit it, right? They're not. You got to know a lot to make builds. You got to farm these things, which means, and then you got to expertise them to stay up with the crew. And then you got to worry about your watch. And then you got to worry about, what do you call it? The optimization of your gear, and then the expertise of your gear. And that's a lot. And what happens is it can turn a casual player away because they never feel like they're going to get caught up with the rest of the community. And other games have this problem too. I think Warframe has something like that going on. It's not very inviting to new players. So, you know, I get it, and I like the goal, you know, whether they could actually achieve it or not. But, you know, I like growth for the community, and so anything that brings growth to the community, I would consider. Like I have a choice. But I pretend I'm on the board. We talk about it. But yeah, that's the bigger worry more than anything. Is like, you know, will it all be about just staying in the range? You know, okay, the idea is to get inside 25 meters. And if I do that all the time, then I'm going to get this. Well, you're going to get an amplifier no matter what distance you're fighting at. It just varies, right? I mean, it's not a bad thing. You know, I'm here thinking about it out loud. And, you know, it's another way of building, you know? So it's not a bad thing because, you know, we've only seen apparently a tip of this iceberg. And, you know, there's a lot more modifiers to tinker with and that we could choose to implement on our active modifiers, right? So we got your passive, your active, and then the enemy ones. Or is it's called global. I think they're calling it global, and then active, and then enemy modifiers. I think that's how it works. Is that how it works? Or is there a fourth one? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, my biggest worry is that all of these, I mean, it's fun. It would be a fun thing, but it would change the way we play the game. Which I'm, you know, I would have mixed feelings about. Again, you know, it's kind of that whole conversation. What did we sign? It's not what we signed up for when we bought the game. Not that games aren't able to evolve, but that would be quite the evolution. And you would see, and you could see where they were going with those seasonal characters, right? Hear me out on this one, because this is where it goes, okay? So the seasonal characters, what was everybody's complaining about it? And they were right? They were like, hey, I don't want to play with a temporary character. I invest in this main character, right? That temporary character didn't even have stash space. He had a temporary stash space, and he unlocked gear. right? You unlocked gear, and I think you could use that gear. I mean, you got to run some sort of gear, but it was basically like it was a temporary character, right? It was what are you going to call it? It was a temporary character. He was driven by modifiers. I see that now, right? More clearly than before. We always knew that. This isn't news. But it's become more evident to me, like, oh yeah, that character was going to be completely driven by the modifiers. Which is why the modifiers are so strong and overpowered and so assuming, I'll say. Because this guy, it's basically like the Descent game mode, right? The Descent, there's no gear in the Descent game mode. Your build is through talents. Okay, so it's the same, it's basically the same thing. It's the Descent mode in a way, right? In a way, do you see that? Like this seasonal character was gonna get modifiers. That was his main build. And I'm sure there would have been regular, essential, basic build elements, but he didn't have a stash. He was a 5th character, and there was like this temporary stash space for it. The new gear you unlocked. And then you transferred it. It was weird, right? And so it made me think like, wow, this guy was going to be powered fully by these modifiers. So these modifiers are that powerful. And that assuming that you don't even need gear. You know? And so that's what makes me worried about this thing is like, are they intending to a degree? Like, I don't think they're saying, hey, your builds are worthless now. No, they want it to be an integration, an additional element. But so it is. And I can see that from this distance. Cool, right? But it's the weight of it all. That's what I'm talking about here. The weight of these modifiers in comparison to our gear and how they impact our performance, which is doing more. The modifiers of the build. I don't know that answer, but the question I got to ask you is, which do you want to do more? The modifiers or your build? And if that's the right question, then that's what we need to keep our eye on. That's the long game here. Okay, whether you like the modifiers or not, well, they're coming anyways. You know, but in the long term, if they take more weight than anything else, that sure is going to be interesting on future gear development, like future exotics coming out, future gear sets and stuff like that. It's going to be considered with these modifiers, right? Well, let's not make it too strong because the modifiers, remember that, you know? So this gear set looks flat. Why does the gear set look so boring? Virtuoso. Why does it look so boring? Well, it's because it's meant to pair up with these modifiers. So it's going to pick up this amplified damage from the modifier. So it's distance based. And so are the modifiers. You put those together, you got a decent gear set. But what about when the modifiers go away? What do we feel like? How do we feel about this Virtuoso gear set then? It's remnants at that stage, right? It's a remnants of this one time when we had modifiers. I don't know. Yeah, I don't like that either, Jake. Like the whole RNG thing on my build. I mean, there are some games that are built that way. Warframe just came out with a new character, Kiyomi or somebody like that. I forget her name, but she rolls the dice like Aces does. And she's literally got like these little dice in the corner, and when she strikes, like it rolls the dice, and if you get like 2 6s, like a snake eyes or whatever you call that, two 6s, then you get a buff to all of your skills, something weird like that, right? So there's an RNG element to it, you know. I mean, for your global directive or modifier, for your global modifier, it's always a buff. It's just how much is what changes. So that's good. But yeah, I'm with you there. I don't like it either. I like reliability. I'm really into that. Like I like when I shoot, I know what I have an expectation of what's going to happen, and I prefer that. But I'm generalizing too. Yeah, I know, Misfit. Like, man, that game gives me whiplash, bro. I mean, good, right? Did they end up replacing the CEO? Do you know? There were talks about it. Oh, I think it was the CEO. But yeah, there's because he was like, I don't think his opinion was appreciated. Right? Like, so the Iron Lung took a nerf, huh? I'm not sure I like that. Do we have ongoing directive going on here? I don't think I can craft ongoing, right? I think that's one of those ones that we can. And I really don't want to go to countdown. I mean, I guess we can go to Summit. That's one gear set I am going to want to run. I mean, I love team buffs. Love team buffs. And that new chest piece is going to make our bleed blue screen build legit. What's going on with the blue screen here? Let's take a look at the blue screen. There it is. So a tiny buff to the weapon damage. They dropped the RPMs. That sucks. I always like high RPMs, so that's always a bummer for me. But they gave it they doubled the mag size? Wow. That's something, don't you think? Ooh, where's that blue screen? The Dread Edict, let's take a look at that. God, that's quite a nerf, 30,000. I don't think they should have nerfed the SVDs like they're being abused or something. What's happening with our Dr. Home? Did the M1A technical versions get buffed? Let's see here. Dr. Home, where are you? I like the Dr. Home. I'd run it even in solo. I think it's great. But I like scopes, you know. Where's this Dr. Home? Probably looking over it. It's not here. Maybe I'm missing a page. No. Well, let's go back to rifles and maybe we'll be able to tell from there. M1A variants. Oh, they took a nerf to those? Ooh, that hurts. About a 25,000 nerf. A little faster reload though, that's nice. Because reloads sucked. M1A reloads suck, right? So the Doctor's Home is getting a nerf? Boo! let's look at this chatterbox. 42, so it's gonna be weaker, but faster. That's good. I actually think that's good. I mean, I don't like that they brought down the damage, but it's not that much. But the 700 RPM felt really bad. Did not feel good. $40,000 off the Mantis is a lot. Don't touch my favorite gun. Straga took a little bit of a nerf on its base damage too, huh? I don't know how I feel about the Bighorn. You know, they're always doing something to the Bighorn. It's just like, and it never really hits home long run. But appreciate you, Kane. Yeah, you know, we have good days, we got bad days, right, Matt? I'll just keep trying to keep it real much as I can. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the dono. Speaking of nerfs, what about the cooler? Oh, I can't even believe I'm saving this in my stash space. Okay, where were we going? We were going to grab something. No, I don't remember. Oh, the blue screen. Yeah, that's looking interesting with its double mag size. We should whip that fucker out, right? Let's go find it. Yeah, Kane. Yeah, the Model 700 maintains a little bit of a weakened shot, but yeah. And then the Doctor or the White Death. You know, I would want to test that though, Kane, because the White Death is going to have an elevated headshot damage. So, statistic, right? Because it's got that perfect stat. So, let's take a look at how far apart they are. We would want to see with that extra headshot damage multiplier how much it could possibly be higher. But if you were going on the body, yeah. So 499, so it's gonna be 444. Ooh, I don't know, man. It might possibly be the White Death might be the strongest sniper, not counting the Nemesis. I mean, because these are so close together, it's possible that the headshot difference could make the M44 hit harder. Not just the M44, the White Death. I know that's a named version, but you know, if we brought the Ecom's long stick and then Ranger, then yeah. Raw listed stat though, yeah, you're right. Yeah. I like using the Model 700. I do. It's a fun gun to use. Okay, we're looking for exotics. So yeah, so the Bighorn, just to touch on that real quick, like I like the gun. Actually, this season it felt better than it's ever felt because of the Eagle's grasp gloves. You know, and they're buffing this weapon even more. So we got a 40 round mag. Let's look at the mag mod. I don't know what they're saying here. I don't get what they're saying here. Let's take a look at the stat again because this is really confusing. Let me pull it up. Hold on a second. I mean, I think it's live in the PTS right now. But so the Bighorn is at the top. But look at its mag size. They're saying right now that the mag is 30. I don't have a 30 round mag. I have a 40 round mag with a reload speed bonus. So, and they're saying they're going to push it to 42 rounds. So is their data off? Because look, I got 40 rounds. And so it's not like they're changing the mod, because the mod right now is reload speed. Does anybody know what that means? It's 1,002. I think the RPM is 1250 on the Oros. Yeah. You see it right there? But they brought back the 50 rounds. I think that was a good idea. You know, it did need to be rebalanced. I don't like that they did it. A gun felt really good. I hate that they rebalanced it without touching the talent. I think that's really fucking annoying. But it had the best sustainable damage and the best burst damage. I mean, but it's a mistake to nerf that gun and like. But don't worry, they nerfed all the other vectors with it. So they nerfed the tactical vector, like that weapon was, and its tiny little mag was doing something. Anyways, so yeah, this Bighorn is always been an interesting weapon. It just never quite does it, you know. And maybe that's an Xbox thing or a controller thing, but I know that like PC players maybe enjoy it more, but some people are like, oh man, it's my favorite gun, it's the only gun I use. But it's like, it's telling you that you should go for nothing but headshots. So like, you wouldn't want to, I mean, you can run crits and crit on the head, but you might as well just run all headshots on your build. Because it's saying only go for headshots, because you need to land on the head to build up your stacks, and you need to stay landing on the head to maintain your stacks. So it's like, that's hard to do with this weapon. That doesn't have that great of handling, and I know they're making it a little bit better, but you know, 800 RPMs going at the head all the time, yeah, you're going to need handling. You're also going to need a better mag, and you're going to need a better reload. Not a bad reload, but at least a bigger mag. And you know what they're giving us? 2 bullets. 2 bullets. Whoa. I do like the gun, though. I'm not saying I don't enjoy it. I think now is the best time to run it with the Eagle's Grasp, and next seasons can get better. So it is moving in the right direction. But this bad boy doubling up its mag, that's going to be great. Actually, even on a negotiator set, this actually pairs up really nice with the negotiators. It was always a conversation. But that makes it a great negotiators build for team support, a DPS support build. So shooting an enemy marks that enemy. Let's run it. Let's put this. I haven't run the blue screen in a while, but I also want to slap together that old ongoing directive build. I think that one's going to be really fun to run next season. I'm excited to. I've been wanting to run it again for a while, and I just haven't had the opportunity because I don't think I have any ongoing directive. Yeah, I don't have any. Good job, Jonathan. Right on. Upgraded. Upgrade. Oh, nuclear. Yeah, it's kind of an industry standard right now. So, you know, I'm not excited about it. You know, it's a sort of like good. It's good. Great. But it's a quality. I see it as a quality of life feature. It's intended to ease up on our equipment, and we see it in other games also as an option. I actually don't like that it's not an option. That, you know, but I guess it is by touch. But you know, you still got the cap is still the same RPM, so it's just a quality of life feature. You know, you instead of racking your finger, you get to hold it down. But I gotta say is is that pull from your immersion? Me personally, like, I actually prefer to crank my finger on the trigger because I run an Xbox controller, and so if you're not an Xbox controller, then yeah, if you're clicking a mouse or you're on PlayStation that I don't really think has triggers, right? They're buttons. Then yeah, okay, you know, it's not that big of a deal. But on the Xbox, we got actual triggers. And so it's kind of part of, if you feel like you're shooting a gun to a degree, you know, a digital version. I like that. You know, it's always been, I remember when they brought it out, right? You remember that back in the day when you were like, oh my God, there's triggers on our controllers now. It's like, why didn't somebody think about this a long time ago? Totally. Okay, we're gonna have to change our specialization. Oh, is that right, Misfit? They're going through a vote? Yeah, that game all over the place. The thing is this about the nerf and the rebalancing thing. It's just like, careful. You know what I mean? Be careful what you do to your player base, man. Like, oh, they're gonna love the buffs and the nerfs. You know, it's just like, careful. You know, think about what your players are loving right now, and then you might be stripping that away on accident. You know, and if you are, you're gonna have to be gentle about it. You know. You could do it in small phases over a longer period of time, you know, soften the blows. But my kind of opinion on it is like the people that root for all the rebalancing and be like, oh, it has to, you know, oh, what do you know, yay devs, you know, good job rebalancing because, you know, the game power creep. It's just like, man, that's old, bro. Like this, you know, old news. Been there, done that. Change it up. It's time, you know, broken record. Give me a different story, you know? It's sort of like, how do you feel it's going, you know? How do you think it's going? Oh, yeah, this is great. I mean, feels good with negotiators, right? That's what I'm saying. It's going to feel really good with an extra 200 rounds. And put some amp damage behind it. And that reload's getting faster, too. I wish they buffed the negotiator's chest piece. Instead of more enemies, maybe it was just more damage. I mean, it kind of is to a degree because, you know, you get your stacks up faster the more enemies you kill. So, but I haven't used this gun in a long time. It feels good. I see why you use it, Grumpy. You were using this for a while, right? I'd always be like, what's that gun you're using? It makes an interesting sound. Chicka, 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 chicka. I felt like when we'd be in Countdown, you were using this. See how LMGs invite a lot of incoming damage, though. You see that? I mean, we've broken armor twice. One of the questions I wish I could ask the devs is like, hey, how do you guys feel about those Acosta knee pads now? You remember Yannick's remark on him? oh, we're just gonna go ahead and leave it like it is because, you know, you guys are gonna find really creative ways to use it, and, you know, I know you think it's not very powerful and that you could just run another exotic, but, you know. Okay, well, it's been out for a while, right? How do you think, these are the kinds of questions somebody needs to sit down with these devs and do an interview, like a proper one, right? Like, so how do you feel the adoption has gone for, like, try to get them to say it out loud, you know, about those Acosta Go pads, knee pads? Are you really just not gonna, revamp those? You're gonna let them be? I mean, can we, if we can agree that gear is content, if we can agree on that much, then you could say that's failed content. That's failed content. I can't live with that kind of development. It really irritates me, you know, just from my business side. You just don't, in business, I just don't believe you just launch a new product and say, well, maybe they adopt it, maybe they don't. We're moving on to the next project. You know, it's just like, no. Iterate that fucker. You know what I mean? Improve on it. Get some user feedback. Say what's wrong with it. Get some get some test groups together. Let's figure the sucker out and then improve it month over month, week over week, year over year, you know? Like, I want to do a deep dive on Warframe because they've done that with their game, right? It was not a hot game at first, and they've turned into something of a beast. They got a serious following, and it's really interesting. And they were free to play, and they had a bad microtransaction model with pay to win concepts up front early on. And, you know, they got the feedback and they adjusted, and, you know, they started out really small, and now here we are. And I think so many other games envy them because of the community that they've built. It's a very attractive game from a dev perspective. That game is not going anywhere soon. And in my opinion, like, that's what they should all be like. They should build that kind of reputation. Like, very interesting. No dev is perfect, but, you know, they do these state of the game things on a regular basis. Like, the head honchos get behind camera. They don't just sit there. It's not just an interview. You know what they do? They play with the player base. Can you believe that? They play with the player base. Live stream it. I mean, that's pretty cool. Not from a PR perspective, but also showing like, hey, we play this game. We stand behind our product, right? We're experiencing it too. Oh, we get it. This part sucks, you know? We should do something about that. I know I'm not using my skills with this. You're supposed to use your skills with it, but it's kind of feeling out the weapon. I mean, I think with the 200 round mag, this weapon's going to be cool. Not that it wasn't cool before, but that's going to be great for some legendary business. Is there any negative effects for reloading this? I can't remember. Like, do you lose your stacks? Let's see what happens. No, that's just the fire breather. But yeah, you pair this up with negotiators. I wonder what skills we'd want to use with it, though. You don't have to use skills, because on kill, you get the trigger, too. Ooh, the Black Friday? That's a good one, too. I actually like the Black Friday. I enjoy it. It's deceivingly good. And now that it's faster, that's crazy. Oh, I should have grabbed that before we left. I don't think I have it on me here. Because that's the one where you get more damage at the cost of, what is it? Stability and accuracy. If I remember right. And at first you're like, oh man, that's horrible for an LMG because, you know, LMGs suck in that department already. But then it kind of works out because, well, here's the deal. Now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm remembering it. So maybe I don't like it. We'll have to try. Like, I was saying before, I was like, this weapon's really good. The reason why is because it shoots at an RPM where you could actually manage its stability and accuracy, even though you lost a bunch of it. And so I'm just not remembering that. And that's because of its RPM. And so I'm wondering, well, now that they're making it faster, that means it's going to be a little bit more of a wild bucking boar, perhaps. Grumpy, what do you run it with when you're running this gun? The blue screen. I mean, I feel like it wouldn't be good with Heartbreaker. Unless we did a workaround for the pulse. Yeah, that's right, nuclear. Gotcha. Nuke 'em. Nuke. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I think that's the build that I want to put. Are you running status effect on everything, or you going DPS on that, like crits and stuff? Because I think that's the build I want to put together, and I think I'll run the new ongoing directive chess piece. So I need to farm that before the season launches. Well, I guess we got time, don't we? Fuckers. One of the, like, saying this out loud for the community's sake, like, that's why we don't want the delay, because we're getting all of this information and hype, right? We're getting hype for seasons 2. Some people are really excited about it, and we're getting all this information, and we're talking about the guns. All this stuff is season 2 stuff we're talking about, right? Like, that's the latest buzz. And so that's good energy, you know? You want to build on that, maintain it. Bring players back. But what I know is going to happen, this isn't even a guess, it's just the way things work, right? Is that it'll lose steam because we're going to go weeks, months. I mean, my guess is before Thanksgiving, but after Halloween. Pretty safe to say, right? It's a safe guess. Not too much speculation there. Because the throwback event's going to last 3 weeks. Which, by the way, the throwback event should always just be something. It's actually a really good idea for an event. But it could be so much more than just a distraction. Yeah, I think it's situational. Misfit. So I'm not super excited about it, but there's certain weapons that benefit from it, but mostly playstyle. So I mean, to be honest with you, I would like to swap weapons more than I do in this game, but there's something about this game that I don't like. I'm trying to put my finger against it. We've had this talk before. It's like there's something that I don't like about weapon swapping. It might be a controller thing, but sometimes you can over swap and under swap. And so there's a mechanic, right? It's an old one, but you can swap weapons in the middle of your reload mechanic, and then you'll skip the reload. See? And so that's great. It's a little muscle memory. Everybody's probably mastered it at this stage, but it's muscle memory. You memorize it. You know when to click it. It's not a perfect system. Sometimes you don't hit it right, but a lot of times you can. You just kind of get it down, right? But so the goal would be to save time, cut down reload time, right? You could make it an arbitrary number if you integrate a weapon swap as your play strategy. So as long as I'm swapping, as long as I have two weapons that I want to use that coincide with my build, then I can hit the reload and swap to the other weapon, and then it's like having no reloads. Great sustainable damage, right? In order for that to work, your talents got to work. So you don't have free reign on your talents, because if you activate killer on weapon 1 and then you switch to weapon 2, you no longer have killer. And so whatever talents you choose would have to be talents that don't get deactivated by weapon swapping, but are also active on their first shot, like Optimus. So that's the downside, is like, well, you are limiting your talent pool. So if the talent that you enjoy isn't one of those talents, you can switch weapons, like basically every exotic. And so that's the problem with it, is that a lot of us run exotics a lot. Like the capacitor, right? The capacitor or the St. Elmo's. So like if you swap the St. Elmo's on reload, you might not have full stacks on your St. Elmo's. So if you swap weapons, then you lost all your stacks. So what you're gonna end up having to do is reload, continue stacking. Now you got all your stacks. Now swap weapons at an inconvenient time. What if there's no enemies in front of you at that time or something? You know what I mean? Like, but if you didn't need that, but yeah. So the randomness, that it sounds nice, but I think it ends up being out of your, this is how it's going to play out. It's just like the fucking Acosta's knee pads. Not the Acosta's knee pads, the other ones. The rock and roll knee pads, is that what they're called? Whatever ones that reload your gun. Those knee pads, like nobody runs them. And they look like a great idea. Who doesn't want free reloads and bonus armor? But they never work. Because the situation in which you need that reload doesn't line up with your ability to take advantage of that moment, or that, how do I say, that mechanic. So in other words, like right here, for example, like, well, I could do a cover to cover and get the free reload, or I could just reload my weapon because I'm in no hurry. And that's what ends up happening, is that you always have lots of breaks where your reload isn't a big issue. So to lose that gear slot for a free reload, even though that's like my number one thing I wish I had in any build, to be honest with you, that's like, it's a game changer, no reloading a weapon, in my opinion. It is. I mean, that's how you become OP, in my opinion. But on paper it's good, but mechanically it just doesn't work out. It's just like, okay, so I'm pinned down and I can't move, you know? And so like, you know, there's 10 enemies shooting at me. What else do I got to do but reload? So I'm just going to reload, you know? Like, I'm just going to reload. So my knee pads aren't helping me because I'm stuck here. I mean, I can move, but I'm not going to move just for the sake of fucking reloading. You know, I don't need to move. I'm in a good spot. What if you're in a great spot? You know, you're going to have to move out of your spot to get that reload? No, I'll just fucking reload. You know, I'm here. And so on weapons that really need it, it's worse. Because then you get in these positions where you can't move. Or you have an enemy in your face, right? And you're out of cover. And you need to shoot him, but you just ran out of ammo. What are you going to do? Pop back in ammo. This is what you'd have to do. You'd have to get back in cover and then travel. And now you got your reload. And it's like, that's too many steps. You're dead. Or you took a bunch of damage for delaying just hitting your reload button. And so that's how this holster is going to pay out. I know I'm talking about something else, but it looks great, but the weapon swapping thing is just not going to be convenient. It's not going to be there when you need it to be. It's going to be damage that you can't count on, basically, is what I'm saying. We already know how the community feels about it. How many people are running the versatile backpack talent? And there's your answer. Because the best situation for that holster is, I mean, I'm hoping I'm wrong here, and I will be trying it out, of course. But the best situation for that holster would be shotguns and SMGs. Because when else is your reload going to be that critical? Or weapon swapping being that critical, where you need a continuous mag like that, right? When you're in the kill zone, the kill box. So, but when you're playing deep, like as a sniper, reloads on snipers aren't really a problem. You know, I love having no reload options, but it's not really a problem. Because you have a lot of distance between on that reload. But SMG shotguns, absolutely. Tons of pressure, right? We just ran out of ammo. So why doesn't everybody run versatile? Because that's the same concept. You swap weapons. That's a shit ton of damage. You know? Now, for some people, they don't run versatile because they need the bonus armor from that backpack for that play style. And that's a big part of it, I think. And so that would give credit to the holster. And if that is the case, then the holster could be the versatile solution. Like, you ever wish you could run versatile, but you can't because you got to have your bonus armor? Well, now you can have both. Now you can have both of it. So that's one of its use cases. But like another use case I could consider, like the snipers, be like, well, that'd be cool. Actually, I could run 2 snipers with Lucky Shot if you want to, right? That's great because Lucky Shot's like, as long as you're in cover, it doesn't matter, right? You're not going to lose anything by weapon swapping. So it would work, or whatever. I'm just using that as an example. You could arguably say preservation. You would lose some preservation by swapping, but you know, it wouldn't be end of the world. That being said, the problem with is like we've just when you're way back when you're playing from cover with a sniper, it's just I'll just reload. Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm here. You might be running 2 snipers, but you're always gonna lean in more with one. You're gonna have one that you like better. So I just think, yeah, you know, it's nice, but do I even need that damage? I don't need fluctuating damage with the sniper, so it's not gonna work there. Rifles? Assault rifles? Well, not if you're running the St. Elmo's. Right? Not if you're running the Eagle Bearer. Not if you're running the Bighorn. I mean, you swap out of that Bighorn, you wasted a lot. Yeah, so it's going to be situational. I think SMG shotguns is probably its best bet. or those that are really good at integrating their secondaries. But the pistol doesn't do anything, so you can't bring that into the rotation, which sucks. Yeah, so I don't think it's bad. I think I like it as an option because it is an actual viable option, and you just have to think about your build and pay attention to whether you're getting it. The buff, and then just decide if it's worth it. And I like gear like that. I'm like, all right, it doesn't have to be perfect for everything. It doesn't have to be the memento. It doesn't. So I'm cool with that, So I think it's a good option. It's simple enough, It will be situational. The question is, how much will I use it because of the way I play? Will I find builds for it? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can find builds for Versatile today, right? We have those builds. We've made them. It's just that, I know from shotgun SMG experience that bonus armor is, that's better than a damaged thing on your backpack. Although I wish I could have both, and now we can, maybe. And then from there, I'll just have to look. I haven't looked at it lately, but, how significant is the damage, and is it game changer damage, or can I just run a Gruppo there? That's always something, right? Or you could just run Gruppo and get more consistent. I mean, like, how many people are running the waveform? That's not horrible damage. But there always ends up being something better. And that better usually comes down to reliability, not always damage. And that's because it's got that teeter-tottering effect. Again, which is limiting. It limits. It only works for certain skills. It's going to be the same thing. It's the same concept, with the new holster. It's only going to work for certain weapon types and play styles. But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But how well it synergizes with the metas in their true form, not just meta because we say it so, but I mean like the most effective tactics for the Division 2, like what I'm basically saying is how people prefer to play, right? And believe it or not, a little more than half from my checks of the community seems to prefer a more relaxed play style. I always thought that was interesting. It's actually, we say relaxed. That doesn't mean like necessarily like laid back, right? I think the proper term for it would be tactical. Because relax sounds like, they're just hanging back, letting somebody else do all the work. We just use that word just because it's, it seems as though it'd be the opposite of aggressive, but aggressive doesn't necessarily mean out of cover. You can be aggressive and be a cover-to-cover player. I've always really liked negotiators. It was the first gear set I adopted in the Division 2. We didn't have a lot to choose from back then, but still it was the first. True Patriot was another option. And then there was a long while that you didn't have access to the chest in the backpack until you did the raid. Yeah, but Negotiators has always been really cool to me. It's a cool concept. It's nice. simple and very handy. You guys remember when they introduced Striker? I remember that. Everybody's like, yeah, Striker from Division 1. I remember everybody would ask for the Ninja bike, too. The backpack. Those are great examples of when the devs listened. I was like, wow, do you know how many times I got that comment in stream? People say, oh, I wish they gave us the Ninja bike backpack from Division 1. We got that so much. Methodical, methodological. You're saying it wrong. Methodological. Yeah, but I really like the Division 2, man. I do. You know? I just hope that when you guys hear me talking what I call real talk about the devs and stuff, disappointment and whatever, it does not mean I don't love this game. I really enjoy this game, you know? It's just been a very frustrating season. Oh. And, you know, part of it is also, like, I think where some of my frustration comes from is that I play these other games. I've been playing more games, like, over the last year than I have in the last 9. Basically 7 years since this game's come out. And it's just like you start to see other, like, what it could be like out there, what this game or developers could be like. It's not the game I'm frustrated with. It's the developers. Like, if we got no new content in the Division 2 for, like, except for gear in the same old boring seasons, I would still be playing the Division 2. That is not the deciding factor for me, you know? It's the devs are just really out of touch, and it gets frustrating after a while. And it's worse when you're out there and you see that it could be different, you know? And I don't think we have the power to change them, but I was stoked. Genuinely stoked that they rolled back some of those nerfs, you know? And yeah, maybe it was a, you know, I know they weren't like super big deal reverses, and I realize that's like, you know, they would have probably done it anyways if we didn't bitch, just because, you know, maybe they were going to rebalance things. They weren't done rebalancing things, right? But either way, it's the point is, wow, they actually do hear us, you know? But the stuff that's kind of frustrating is just that they just let shit sit there and then they go around. It's just like, you know, so when somebody argues, the part that irritates me, like, I respect everybody's opinion in our community and others. But you just, where I feel like some arguments are short-sighted is just like, you can't take this rebalancing out of context. There's so much more going on, you know? Sacrum Imperium, I never forget. And that's all I got to say. Okay? Right? That's all I got to say. Is that when they launch the Sacrum Imperium and then they leave it like that, and then they go around nerfing Striker, even if it's only by 5% off the backpack, like, nonsense. Nonsense. You know? Or they buffed Eyeless, right? They took the time to rebalance Eyeless, the weapon talent. That's an insult to me. That's insult. Now they're insulting me. You know what I mean? Like, what? This is nonsense. Like, it's just nonsense. All of it's nonsense. And so when somebody argues for the devs' decisions on this stuff, I'm like, man, you're taking this out of context, you know? It's just like, you can't just say it's good for what? You want the game to be easy? You just like, they got a balance, you know, everybody's running Striker, but like Sacrum Imperium. Sacrum Imperium. 2 words for you. You know what I mean? Look it up. Why wasn't that weapon changed, right? Oh, well, it got a slight buff because is that going to change the behavior? What's the point of doing this? What is the point? To change behavior, right? Every change should have a reason. Otherwise, you're wasting dollars and a lot of patience. And so it's just like, so to nerf the St. Elmo's and the Ouroboros, but to leave the Sacrum Imperium alone is nonsense. And they did leave it alone. Yes, it got a slight base damage increase because they increased the G26 or whatever it is. But that is not rebalancing. It goes from nobody gives a shit to nobody gives a shit still. That is not a rebalancing project at all. That's nonsense. And so it's just like, I feel like we can't call these rational decisions without calling out the Sacrum Imperium and a bunch of other gear, right? Like, they nerfed Obliterate because it needed to be rebalanced. Okay. What about Spark? Seriously, what about Spark? Does it not need to be rebalanced? I mean, right? Rebalancing isn't just one way, is it? It's not just nerfs. Rebalancing is also buffs, which they did. But they skipped over 99% of the gear. That's why it's frustrating, because it does kind of feel like a dog and pony show. Is that what you say? Is that the right term? Basically what I'm saying is it feels like a distraction. And the distraction is that we're not getting Seasons 2.0 for a long time. So they're giving us something to talk about. It's negative, maybe like any press is good press perspective. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. Any buzz in the community is good buzz. It kind of feels like that at the moment, right? Because I'm thinking, like, how could this be the full exercise? So we had Project Resolve, which led to a delay. And now we have Title Update 22 updates, which is also coincidentally tied to a big delay. That's not a little delay, by the way, guys. It's a big delay, even in division terms. So, like, I'm just kind of like, oh, man, it just seems like I don't know. I just can't. I feel like I'm a pretty rational dude, you know? I have my moments of clarity. And so I try to see the dev's perspective. Yeah, and I am realistic. Yeah, games, you can't, things can't get ridiculous on either way. The NPCs or the players. So yeah, things got to be rebalanced. I'm cool for a shakeup. I'm ready. I really can give a rat's ass about a Striker. I think it's a mistake to nerf it, even by 5%. It's the principle. You're right. But I don't care. It's not my favorite gear set. I mean, it does irritate me when they do things like, if they were to like, I don't know, go after a hot headhunter or something like that. That would irritate the shit out of me, right? But that's me, right? That's me as a gamer, not thinking about the community. Selfish old me. But yeah, I just think it's nonsense. It's just like, oh my, Sacrum Imperium, people. Sacrum Imperium. How can you defend the devs on this? And be like, oh yeah, it makes sense that they didn't buff this Sacrum Imperium. It's just like, So it's okay to encourage people to. It's okay to make to rebalance gear to discourage players from using it, but it's not okay to rebalance gear to encourage players to use it. Apparently, it just I'm trying to follow this logic here. It's a tool they're using for sure. But I'm starting to think the point of the tool is just to distract us because it doesn't. It's ridiculous. No, I don't. I don't actually believe that. I mean, I'm just talking shit because I don't think the devs have the. That'd be pretty fucking creative. Let's just put it that way. That'd be pretty creative. It'd be smart as shit. In an evil master genius way. It'd be way too smart. I don't think they have the luxury to do such mastermind evil shit like that. I don't think they have the luxury. I think they genuinely feel like they need to do these changes to shake up the meta. I don't think it has anything to do with us being overpowered. But I do think, yes, it does have to do with us, with maintaining the status quo, but that's not the same thing. Maintaining the status quo and us being overpowered, no. Not the same thing. Maintaining the status quo means to maintain our weakness, because we're quite weak in this game. It's written, and so shall it be. Yeah, it did become reality. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, but if I could say, like, if I had to pick and say, like, oh, well, which of these nerfs, like, really, like, hit home for me, like that I don't actually like. I mean, I don't like I do think they nerfed the St. Elmo's to the ground. I do feel like that, and I get on paper, it's not as bad as it seems, and they gave us our ammo. But I was to be honest with you, I was really after the mods. Also, the mag size was part of that. The mag size is part of that. Like on the getting crits on your assault rifle builds is really tough, and it felt really nice that we had a weapon other than the chameleon, an assault rifle other than the chameleon that allowed us to have an easier time equipping crit chance on our build. Because crit chance on an assault rifle build just eats up every space slot you have, and it sucks. So I really enjoyed that crit chance mod, and then the weapon handling to go with it, obviously, was a fantastic mod. So yeah, I think that's a bummer. I'm actually not sure if I'm going to be super excited to run that assault rifle, and if I do, it's probably just by default. Because to be honest with you, the shock has always been kind of mediocre. It's been very mid, because of how many wastage shock ammo shots you get in. You can only shock an enemy that's not shocked. So you shock him, and then all those bullets that are hitting him while he's shocked, because you're not going to stop shooting him, all those bullets are wasted, and then every bullet that is able to shock him from that point forward gets a diminished return now. So it's just like, you get a shock and a half out of an enemy, right? And that doesn't sound bad, but think about it. That's 70 rounds. You had to work hard to get those stacks, those 70 stacks of shock, and you pumped all of those into a single enemy and got a shock and a half out of it. And then, yeah, no more. Yeah, I know somebody was asking about the Strega. I should totally give you my opinion on that. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I look at it kind of like, I mean, I obviously haven't used it, but I do look at it like it's basically Negotiator's Dilemma and a weapon. So I imagine running it with Negotiators, but you don't have to, but that's cool. I like the idea of applying damage to more than one enemy at the same time. I just love that concept in anything. But probably the same feedback as other people are giving you. Not that big of a fan of a foul. The foul has always been just all right. With that being said, you know, well, at least now I get to use the foul. That would be the positive spin on it, because it's never been a bad gun. Like I said, it's just always been all right. I've always felt like, wow, it shoots really nice. I've always felt that about the foul. Feels really good. Got good mod slots. But the mag size has always been an issue for me. And that's before we had 70-round assault rifles or 60-round assault rifles, whatever we have. You know, so like, and so the assault, all the other assault rifles just keep spreading that gap between me and the foul. And so I always felt like the foul's sort of become less cool as we've gotten other even better assault rifles. And so that's my problem with it, is a small mag. I think I in this game, like, it might not seem like a big issue, but in this game, when you're dealing with bullet sponges, it becomes a big issue. You can feel like you're always reloading because these enemies are so spongy, and you're missing shots too. Let's not pretend we land 100% of our shots, you know. So you got 42 rounds and you're missing, and let's just say you got 50% accuracy, which is goddamn good in this game, right? 50% accuracy is great accuracy. So that gives you 21 shots on target. So you're reloading after every kill if you're getting that great accuracy. You know. But I think a realistic accuracy number is probably going to be more like 40, 42% on a good build. God damn, that riot foam sticks long ass time. So there's that weapon. Yeah, I think it's cool though. It's cool. What makes me uncomfortable about it is that it's a little too damage orientated, and all of our worries about these damage orientated weapons have come to life. Do you remember our talks where we were going on about the Ouroboros when it was released? I was like, man, I don't think it's a good idea to have a weapon just based off of damage. The talent sucks, and you know, it's just like interesting is more important. We need interesting weapons, unique and interesting. And it's like, I want damage too, but there's always eventually something's gonna come along and it's gonna be better than this from a damage perspective. And then all of a sudden we got this exotic that we're not going to use anymore because the next best thing came around. It could happen even on an interesting weapon. But there's some weapons that persist because they're just well designed. And the Pestilence is always one of those that we talk about. I mean, it's just a well designed weapon. And it's by no means because it's damage, right? Like it's god awful damage. I mean, you got to sacrifice a lot on your build to get that to work. It's got horrible reload. It's got bad weapon handling. You know what I mean? Like, that weapon can get you killed for all those reasons. But it's well designed, you know? Risk, reward, and it's fun. it's interesting, and it's on theme. It's on brand, and that's always important, you know. Was the Ouroboros on brand? Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. Not horrible. But then it gets nerfed. Is it still going to be one of the best SMGs? Yeah. But it's going to irritate me even more that the talent sucks. So, I actually might not run it anymore, to be honest with you. If I do, it's because of the size of its mag. So I'm glad that they brought that back. And 1250 RPMs is nice. But there are a lot of good SMGs. We are not hurting in the SMG department. Man, there's some good SMGs. Have you guys tried the SMG 9, the Tech 9? It's a good SMG. That's a very fun one to use. It's strong. Shoots straight. You'll see its fire pattern. Like, it feels good. And then, of course, the M1928 is one of my favorites. The Cold Relation is actually not a bad SMG. A lot of people like the MP7. I personally don't. Not bad, but that's a go-to in a lot of games. Yeah, SMGs are good in this game. They did a good job. The vectors are, I think they flattened out all the vectors. I stopped using a lot of those vectors. Like, haven't you guys noticed I don't use them anymore? Man, they used to be my number one. I used to use those vectors a lot. I was like, man, I love these high RPM weapons. And I stopped using them, and now they got worse. Because you can feel powerful with them, but you can also feel very weak, you know, just depending on the day. Because you can just be like, man, these guys are... It could sometimes make you realize how bullet spongy they are, right? Because they're low damage, high RPM, decent DPS, pretty good DPS, sometimes the best, depending on the season, apparently. So yeah, I just feel like they're going to be a little less interesting now. And I would say, well, great, it's time for other SMGs to shine, but I feel like we haven't really been hurting in the SMG department. So I don't really feel like I needed the demotivation on those weapons, you know? But granted, probably something needed to happen with that Ouroboros because it was too strong, but not without looking at the talent again. And then the most frustrating thing about it is like, well, great, all it was damage, and now you took that part away. It's still strong, but now it's not exotic strong. What kind of exotic is it? An exotic skin? Well, the exotic just comes down to its mag, I guess, right? Yeah, they buffed measured. I forgot about that. Ooh, we should whip that one out too. I used to use the MPX a lot. That was actually my go-to. It was the vectors. I went through a phase, an SMG phase. I made some pretty crazy SMG builds back then. Started getting real experimental. It's around the time they released the Summit, I think. I remember building these high protection from elite builds, going against those legendaries. and I'd run Ridge's Pride. And then I would tweak the hell out of that build and come out with a bunch of different versions of it. Perfected mostly. And then I learned about the Memento. So yeah, I adopted Ridge's Pride before the Memento. They came out at the same time. I think a lot of people did too, as a matter of fact. I think the Memento had a slow pickup. Isn't that funny? Like, there wasn't a lot of buzz about it. Ridge's Pride got all the buzz. There might have been more to that. I think it was hyped up a little bit more because Ridge's Pride you had to get from the summit. The summit was new. There were hunters, and it's on lore, right? Ridgeway's an actual character in this game. And then I think it's more simple in design and concept than the Memento, and I think that made it easier for people to sign up for it. The Memento was a little bit confusing, probably still is for new players, right? It's like, wait, what? Short-term buffs, long-term buffs, stacking, 300, 15%. You know, there's all these different figures and everything. It seems easy to us now, but as a new player, you wonder, right? It's probably like, what's going on? And that's why I explain it every time. You ever notice that? Look at that all blue wyvern. If we only had the stash space, I'd be collecting more junk like that. Yeah, Ridgeway is like, it's hard, like I run Ridgeway's Pride like once. Yeah, now, right? It's on that. I only run it on my shield deflector build. I don't even do that anymore. I decided the most recent version, I decided that I like Headhunter with it. Even though the shield will consume Headhunter a lot, still worth it. Right, Grumpy? I know, man. I'm with you, man. We should just get together and be like, we should like write it on a piece of paper, like a cocktail napkin, and then scan it and send it in, kind of as a joke. Like, this is how fucking easy it is. We did it over beers. Look at this all yellow Fenris. We don't have room for this kind of shit anymore, but that's the kind of shit I like. I like the oddball stuff like that. I don't showcase them a lot anymore because you guys would hate me if I made builds for them. You'd be like, you want me to farm that motherfucker? This can take me a light year. Oh, no problem, 2000. Hopefully we got a lot more coming. I'm looking forward for this throwback event. It's something different. I got a couple of big videos I want to make. I want to make one kind of on this Warframe concept. Just be like, hey, this is an interesting case study. Let's talk about this case study as a community. You know, not as a hate thing to the developers of the Division 2, not as that, but like, hey, this is a really interesting way to develop a game and build a community. It's really interesting, you know? Like, I wish there was so much more we could do within our own community to fill the gaps of what the devs don't do. Because that's possible. We could just take the reins, right? It's just a lot of work. You know? Like the state of the game. Like, what if we did our own state of the game, right? And other content creators have tried to do that, and I just don't see a lot of success with it. Like, you know... It's a lot of work to do that and to only get like 10 people to show up to your state of the game video, live stream or whatever, you know, is just like, that's a lot of work for that small of an audience, you know? But it would be really cool because we have people in this community and on Discord that are way more knowledgeable about this game, than the devs are in different ways. Obviously the devs are developing it. They know way more, right? Not that way. I mean, like just a touch about weapons and builds and the current trend and why we run things this way. And you know what I mean? Like there's so many conversations we could have and list in perspectives, and not even like on a rotation. We could have like the same 3 or 4 people that have respected opinions, you know, as this panel, and we just have a topic and we just shoot this shit about it. And then we open up for questions and answer, you know what I mean? And maybe it's once a month or once a week or once every 2 weeks, whatever. But other people have tried it. It just doesn't get traction, you know? And that's my hesitation. Is like, man, it's a lot of work to do that shit. You got schedules you got to coordinate with. You got technology, you know, if people call in, how clear is their mic? Is there traffic in the background? You have the technical issues and, you know, different time zones. And, you know, that's my thing. I mean, I could even get other content creators in, you know, people like Cold Boy and whatever, you know. There's some good perspectives out there, you know. But yeah, the technology wise, and then like, you know, how much of the community would actually show up for that always is the part that slows me down on it. But we could drive a lot of energy that way, you know. It'd be a little bit more helpful if the devs gave us a platform to do it on. You know what I mean by is like, season 2 is here, you know, but we can't do that, right? We're talking season 2, but it's weeks to months out, you know. Yeah, I miss my skill builds too. Net. I went through a big phase of skill builds. And I really enjoy them. They've given us a lot of tools for skill builds. I just really like my headshot builds. So like when I personally play, like these builds that I was running today, like the M1A and this blue screen negotiators builds, they're very casual. You know, like I wasn't even paying attention to what I was doing. I mean, you can do that with any determined builds the same way. I get that. But oh, you're mean. I'm not as fast as I used to be. Oh, that was mean. My character's so slow at reacting. Sorry. Because some of it's like, wait, which button is tuck and roll? You know. Oh, that was mean. She hit me with that purple. That's the worst skill to get hit with by a rogue. That purple shit. I'll take anything else. Fucking one-tap me with it too. Oh, the power creep. The power creep. We're overpowered, man. You know what's amazing, Grumpy? Is that her skills hit that hard and her bullets hit that hard too, right? I mean, she hits hard from her weapon, from her weapons, and her skills hit hard. It's like, damn. And they're calling us overpowered and that we need to be rebalanced? What? I should buy some Ubisoft stocks. I know. I heard they went up 30% today with talks of the buyout. People are like, they're getting bought out? Let me buy some of this on sale shit. They're having their autumn sale too, by the way. The Division's probably free. You can probably get it for like $1. Anybody looking into that shit? I have all these exotics too. We gotta open these. Let's see if we can get anything good out of this year 6 season 1 shit. Breaking Point. I do have Breaking Point gear, but I don't know if I have a full set right now. $2.99. That's funny. Yeah, that's still a good deal, I guess, huh? Hell yes. Good stats on these, though. Do I have a... I think I have a breaking point backpack, yeah. With crits, but it's locked in. Do I run the breaking backpack? I don't even remember what it does. Increase on point damage bonus. Yeah, not that exciting. I don't even know why I have it. I never really ran a 4-piece breakpoint since the day it launched, right? We tried it the day it launched, and that was the end of it. Are they still doing that project? I've forgot about that. No, I don't think so. Guess we'll get another exotic while we're here. Did we get anything good otherwise? So let's see if the zoo stuff is good. Skill damage, energize, holster, spotter. Nah. I'm sitting on all of these exotics and I don't know what I want to do with them. What are we thinking about the expertise system right now? I mean, what else are you going to do with your exotics, right? I mean, there's that. There's that idea. There is something else, though. So there is a question, a real thing, right? And one of those is, well, re-rolling your weapons. I mean, how many parts do you need for that? But you get a new exotic, you got to take it to the crafting bench, right? Or the optimization, which is it? Crafting bench? Yeah. And then you have to re-roll your weapon to get the right stat, you know, so you crush it and reconstruct it, crush it and reconstruct it. That costs an exotic for every roll that you do there. And that could be expensive. And so at this stage, I'm wondering, shit, you know, maybe it's more valuable just to save all my exotics for that process than just investing them in the expertise system. I mean, it's free damage, so I hate boiling it down to this, you know. But I've just been less motivated to use it lately. Let's see how many exotics I have. 563, so I'm not at the cap yet. Yeah, what's really interesting about it is what I found was like, it's actually not the exotics that ends up being the limiter in your process. It ends up being, what do you call those stupid things? This was a big surprise. These things, receiver components and protective fabric, ends up being the limiter in your expertise system. So it's in more of an advanced stage thing. So when you start getting your mules together and you start farming a lot of exotics and you start like gathering things, right? You're invested in the game. You're probably a couple thousand on your watch by now. And you like, you know, you're playing all the global events and you're doing countdown, you're opening exotics and you're keeping the ones you want, and you crush everything else. You know, you start amassing these exotics and you're like, all right, now, where do I want to spend this money? Well, let's spend it on this build, right? And, you know, some people will diss you because they'll be like, why are you rolling your striker's mask with armor? Like, you don't really need that armor. It's not that worthy. It's just like, because I only have like I'm only running like 5 or 6 different builds, and this is my main DPS build. Like, why not? Right? Because the why not part is because we, like I said before, there's a giant chasm between us and the enemy when it comes to our power, and part of that is our defensive power. And so we're grasping for straws here. And so we are going to take any little advantage we can. And that's why we do this stupid expertise system, because it's like, yeah, it's shit damage buff, but I'm going to grab it, you know? So that's why you do it, you know? And I did my XP farm build. I didn't need it, but so you can see here, if you look, it says 12 on each one of those pieces. So I rolled them all to level 12, and I should probably max them all out, the whole build, because that's like my please don't kill me build, because I'm farming XP, you know? And so I think there is a use case for it. It's like, this is the most important build for me. I want it at its peak in every single department, you know? Everything's got to be god rolled. It's got to be perfect. If I have to farm for 40 hours to get the right chess piece, I'm going to do that, because this build's really important to me. It plays a vital role in my game strategy. And so it does make sense to level up your chess piece and expertise and stuff like that. But not on everything. It is nonsense to a degree. So that's where your exotics end up going, right? In all these pieces. But so you step up to the plate to do this process. And you're like, okay, I got all these exotics I've amassed, and now I'm ready to spend them. And I'm making a educated decision on where I'm going to spend them. And it's this entire build. I want to level up all these pieces. What I got? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pieces I got to move to max, right? And that's a shit ton of resources, man. You're burning everything, right? SHD this and mats that, right? So like electronics and everything. I mean, you're using your whole kitchen caboodle. And then what ends up, and then you stop because you ran out of resources. And you know what the resource was? Protective fucking fabric or receiver components. It's like, oh my God, because it was eating them the whole time. Like it eats them the whole time until you get to like a really high level, and then it stops eating them. But it eats them the whole time until that level on every piece, and they go fast, man. They go fast, those receiver components and shit like that. And you're like, oh Lord, and there's no fast way around it to farm it. The only way is to buy, and that's a horrible, very boring experience. I've had to do it sometimes to finish a process. And so, I mean, what I'm talking about is going up to the vendor. Well, first, filling your watch to load up on points, currency, and then going to the vendor and buying a bunch of shit and then deconstructing it for receiver components, you know, which is a horribly boring process. And it's painful also because you have to make stash space to be able to do that. And so if your stash is always full, then that's also a problem. So it's just like, it's a horrible experience. You're not going to have enough caches in your bank to rely on those. And what's worse is that you're a lot of the time sitting at a cap here, right? Like I'm basically at cap. 9999 is a cap, right? So it's really easy to get to your cap, but you can spend that down extremely fast. And so it takes a long time to, if you spend it all the way down, you're probably not used to doing that. It doesn't happen very often. I don't spend it all the way down, and I'm always spending resources. So I'm always really close to my cap. The only time you spend it down is when you go heavy on your expertise system. And if you've ever been empty on these, you'll realize how long it takes to get this back up to its peak. To get 10,000 of these receiver components is a lot of weapons that you deconstructed. It's a lot of them. I can't remember how many. It might be like 50 or something. I can't remember. We'd have to deconstruct something. But it's not that much. Let's deconstruct something. Okay, so options, deconstruct. Did it tell me how many I got? Did it say? Option, deconstruct. Is it showing me in the corner and I'm just not seeing it? Sorry. There it is. No. Yes. 180 something right there. Fabric. So 23 protective, 23 receiver components. Okay, so 23 receiver components for that weapon. I think it was. So do the math there. Shit. You only need 10,000 to get back up. That's a lot of weapons that you have to buy and deconstruct, right? And so it's also expensive because you're spending watch points to fill up your currency, and then you're spending your currency to buy shit that you're just going to deconstruct for a tiny little increment of something. And then you're going to reinvest that into the expertise system that's costing you more resources. Oh, it's such a drag. Anyways, my eyes are getting really heavy. I'm not used to staying up this late. I get up so early. All right, folks. Well, I will be streaming tomorrow, but we are going to change the agenda for tomorrow because I really want to jump into the Starfield game and ride along with me. Let's look at it together and see what we think. The new DLC. All right, folks. Thanks for hanging out with me. Have a good night. Catch you tomorrow.